Hey all, how's it going?
Morning.
Morning, afternoon. Sorry, I'm a bit ill today, this week, so fighting a bit of a cold flu here in the UK.
Same.
All right, I didn't have a lot for this. Just trying to pull up and share my screen the agenda. Alexa might join. Let me just see. We'll give it a minute. I think it's been quite quiet recently. Okay, the wiki's being a little bit of a pain. It's not allowing me to actually get to the wiki. Uh, oh, still not working. Okay. Let me just get the wiki up from last time, but for some reason it's not working. Sorry about this.
Is it something that I have access to so I could share it? Or is it going to be internal only?
Ah, there we go. Cool. It's work. Sorry.
Nice.
Give me a sec. I just need to change this and do this. All right, we good. Cool. Let's get going. I'll share my screen somehow. Uh, so I need to give it permission. Here we go. Okay. Hopefully you can all see. Oh, not that. No. Wait. What did I share?
I don't know. It wasn't up long enough to see the screen.
Yeah, it should just be that. Cool. You seeing the wiki?
Yep.
All right. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold, so I'll struggle a little bit. But basically, as we all know, there's the FireFly Community Call in November. There's an antitrust policy and the Linux Foundation. There's industry competitors, and we just need to be able to respect everyone and welcome everyone's opinion. We do have to obey with this antitrust policy, and this meeting is being recorded and does get uploaded to different social media platforms. So if you do not wish to be on the call, um, please do leave now. I guess it's been quite quiet recently. I don't have anything on the agenda. Let me open to edit. I think the only thing to mention is I did run a LFTT London meetup. I ran a Firefly update for loads of folks. In person, I think it was about maybe a month ago. There was really good engagement from different people around Firefly itself, around the Cardano connector I mentioned, and the hackathon. There was loads of different companies that came up to be later really interested in running this. A lot of EVM centric, I think, as usual in these events, but really good attendance and I just get a really rapid like overview of Firefly and where we're up with releases and YC coming next. So that was good. I think the next thing I'm looking at this week, and I'll share a draft by the end of the week, which is the Q3, no, sorry, Q4 um report that we need to submit to the LFTT, which is the report about our status and like maintainers, commits, etc. That we do it every quarter. I normally start draft and then I share it across the maintainers and people can update it. There was one outstanding thing from last time we spoke, I think it was 2 months ago, which was on the security MD, getting that PR over the line. So looking for volunteers to join the security um, team. So this would be a team that would, whenever we get some sort of disclosure of some sort of vulnerability, that team would go and assess it and action on it. TBD to Enrique to share a draft this week. The other thing I noticed is there was a fix that someone proposed around publishing the release manifest. Instead of the manifest living inside Firefly Core and updating all the images there based on a specific branch, um, there was an idea of actually publish the release manifest as a GitHub artifact. I think this user was trying to use a Firefly CLI in a pipeline and was getting request limits on GitHub API to download the manifest.json to run the Firefly components in Docker through the Firefly CLI. So to pull the data of the images and stuff to pull down. So I guess there is a fix there to publish the release manifest. Angelina, I took a look at your PR today around auto reload. I think we're good to go on that one. So auto reload PR on Firefly CLI looks good. There was just one small comment on just one piece of like commented out code or like a comment that we could remove, and then look at the end-to-end tests. I will do that this week. It's been open for way too long, so I'll make sure to close that because I know we've been going at it way too long. And then I get into PR Firefly Core. And then I guess the other thing to mention, there's been some updates from some of the maintainers on the EVM Connect layer and on the transaction manager framework to make it slightly more pluggable in terms of confirmations to be able to be more prescribed in terms of when you want your transactions to be confirmed. So there's some work there done by Peter and Chung to the maintainers, and John as well, who's one of the committers, has helped review that and has put his opinions there as well. So if people want to look at some of the changes we've done to the framework, I know we have the Rust framework in the Cardano one. I think, as you mentioned the past, Simon, this framework is still quite EVM centric. Some of the changes might seem a bit obscure to Cardano. Um, what else? I guess one of the things I will look at. Oh, yeah, two things. I had one thing on the agenda. Yes. Right. And then quarter patch release. Okay, so let's start with the patch release first. So one thing I've always said is if we don't have any releases in the quarter, like minor or major releases, I'll always do a quarter patch release. So it'll be a 1-for-1 just to pick up all like CV fixes and like small fixes across the board. Um, to make sure everyone's updated. And I think it's just good health of the project to always have at least a release per quarter. I know this is quite a stable code base, but even though we have a lot of consumers, so that's what we'll aim for. So I'll probably ask for like fixes and stuff and make sure all the CVs are clear. And then the other thing is I've been pushed on by the LFDT to move orgs. So there is today we are under the Hyperledger organization. Actually, let me pause my share just to show you what I mean. So, if I go to yeah, so let me just open this in here. Yeah, okay, cool. So, If I resume, cool. Can you see this enterprise with me?
Yep. Now it's showing.
Cool. So this is kind of like the landing of like the LF, the Linux Foundation Says Trust enterprise inside GitHub and inside this project specific code. Today, we are under Hyperledger organization, and then FireFly lives here. Right? So all the FireFly types of repos are just like prefixed by FireFly dash. One of the things that I'm being asked for by the end of the year is to, oh, that's broken. I'll fix that. Okay, that logo. I guess it's because it's on the main repo, right? Okay. So we now have this organization, and I think Rai has just copied the README over, which means we have a whole org, which is I think slash, let's have a look here, slash hyperledger dash Firefly, and then within here we would have all our repos. And the reason the LFET want us to move to this is for us to have a better control of our governance. So inside the governance repo, we would be able to do um, access control in here. And I would be able to control it, and then we would have a certain like committee within the maintainers. Normally you have to create a technical steering committee in the project that would be able to steer the decisions technically and also control the access to different repos. Today, everything's governed in a central repo in Hyperledger Structured Governance, which has all the access controls for all the different projects like Fabric and etc. that are under the Hyperledger umbrella. So there is some work to do to actually migrate all of this over. I'm hoping maybe that work we can start it in December. That's what I'm aiming towards. I think there's quite a lot in terms of packages that get published. We have things like Node.js SDKs in NPM. That might be a little bit easier, but we have things like Brew for the Firefly CLI. But more importantly, we have Golang, and most of Golang code is actually pulled in through GoMod, which is using a GitHub URL. So I'm worried that that might cause a lot of headaches. So I'm gonna think if we should do a patch release before we actually move across, or we do the patch release after. And I also did a test, I remember earlier in the year, about redirects. So how we could handle consumers that are using the old URL not get broken by us moving to a different org. Luckily, another project that I work on called Paladin, which is a privacy preserving toolkit for EVM, just moved from labs to its own org. Um, and I have some experience of what they had to do to actually move this across. So I'll make sure to touch base with that team and get some valuable insights on what are the best practices there. Anything for Cardano, Simon, in terms of moving to a different org, in terms of Rust, cargo stuff that you might need to modify, or do you think it'll be straightforward?
It'll be pretty much the same problem as Golang, but relatively minor. People are depending on the Firefly Cardano SDK with a Git URL, and they'll have to update that URL. So exact same problem.
All right, sounds good. So what I'll do in the next couple of weeks before we actually get started on this might be to start an issue, just documenting some of the challenges, to communicate back to the LFDT of why this might take significant time, um, just in terms of other priorities that people have, um, and making sure we're not breaking anyone. Okay, I guess Enrique to raise an issue. Super right on moving orgs to track progress and communicate amount of work. Okay. Anything else from anybody? Okay, Angelina would like to volunteer to the security team. I need to check if the security team is actually only for maintainers. I actually need to check that. That might be the case because you need certain level of access um, to be able to see the reported vulnerabilities.
I'm happy to volunteer on the Rust end of things. I'm not sure how useful I would be for the Go or for the chains that are not Cardano, but I can be useful with the parts that I do know.
Yeah, that might be useful to have you, right? Because if we have anything on the uh down the side of things, sorry. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Simon. That'll be really useful. I'm sure you already have access to that panel, so I'll see if maybe Alexa for Tezos. We'll see. That might be useful. Uh, okay, I think it'll be a short one. Do anyone else have anything else? Okay. I guess. Yeah, I guess there's also a little bit of thinking about next year in this Q4 report of what we do there. I have some ideas, but we'll try and share in the report. And yeah, if you see any features or stuff that you want to work on next year that you have plans for, it'll be good to know. If so, and also I'll be at the Ethereum conference next week, the Dev Connect one. So I'm hoping to chat to loads of people and try to get more people to use Firefly, do a bit of marketing of it in person there, get folks involved. All right, cool. If that's it, sorry, yeah, not a lot in the last couple of months, but I'm sure we'll ramp it up again. With these agenda items and some of the PRs I want to get closed. All right, I'll close it there. Yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day, Simon. I hope you feel better. And
Thanks. You too.
thanks, Angelina, for joining as well. All right, thanks all. Bye.
See you.
See you.